I would like to introduce my two guests. These two are very successful startup owners with really, really interesting stories that you're going to hear today. And my hope is that you will take away from them something that you can apply at your business. So next to me, I have Marquita Carter, who is the founder and CEO of Pancakes Syrup. And next to Marquita is Olivia Cleary, who is the founder and head of design for a company called the Cleary Collection. So welcome to both of you. I'm going to first let them explain to you what they do. They both have really interesting companies. So Marquita, why don't you go first? Tell us what you do and why it's such a big deal.
Wow, well, you know, I am the founder and owner of Pancakes Syrup. Pancakes, honestly, it started out of a necessity for me. And just to give you a little bit of background before I introduce that we sell delicious, all-natural, clean and simple pancakes and mixes and syrups. I started Pancakes Syrup out of necessity for me, my family, and we ended up pretty much having other people taste it, and that's actually how we got started. They tasted it, they said, hey, this is honestly something that can relate to my family as well, and we want to, see how we can get it. So we started off with farmers markets, and then we began to go national, and it honestly was, where we started from there.
So, but what does go national mean? I mean, explain what that means.
Well, right now we're in major retailers. We started, like I said before, from my family to,
Name some names. Like, what stores are you in?
Costco's, Walmart.
Right,
different places like
the big ones. Yeah, okay. Great. So it's a big deal. I'm trying to get her to tell you it's a big deal. She started making pancakes in her kitchen, and now they're selling them at Costco and Walmart. So that's a big deal. So Olivia, tell them what you do. It's very unique and really, really interesting.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. So I'm Olivia. I'm the founder of the Cleary Collective. This is a design agency that focuses on taking the very essence of a brand and translating this into a visual narrative that can be applied to any surface. So what does this look like, and why do we do it? I'll give an example of a past project I've done. So I work with a lot of luxury brands like McLaren, Ritz-Carlton, the US Olympics, and for this certain group of people, when you can afford multiple McLarens, which I cannot relate to, how do you gift someone something, right? And the value suddenly transfers from monetary value to something that the gift can give you in terms of feelings of nostalgia, senses of pride, community. And my design style takes something like McLaren, turns it into a silk scarf or a car wrap for these individuals to have. Now, this is a part of my business. In the same style, I have my own D2C side where I create high-end collegiate silk scarves as well as high-end destination silk scarves, and just the basis of it all is communities, representing them through art and design on luxury surfaces.
And your background was, you were an architect?
Yes, I went to UVA architecture school, so there's a lot of architectural themes through all of my designs, but we've gone through there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just in case you didn't really understand what Olivia was saying, she makes these beautiful designs. So companies want to gift to their customers something that represents their brand. But they have very sophisticated, tell me if I'm getting this right, they have very sophisticated customers, so they can't do the standard merch a t-shirt or whatever. So they come to you, and you design with your architectural background and eye, you design these beautiful designs that interpret their brands, and then they put them on very high quality products, like these beautiful silk scarves. I mean, Olivia's going to Italy to source the best silk for these scarves. So she's meeting this very unusual need for these very high-end products that are branded for companies. Yes. Did I get that right?
Yes, and the most important part is that none of these have logos, and the idea is that the art transcends logos and speaks more towards the values of the brand. So, we're not putting the US Chamber of Commerce on a scarf, we're putting what about this amazing group of people resonates with us on the scarf.
Yeah,
So,
I
yes.
love that. Okay, great. So Marquita, your company, we've just said you started out making pancakes in your kitchen, and then you were personally with your husband handing out samples in Costco, and now you're nationwide. You
Yes.
did all of this without outside funding.
Oh, yes.
So I think that's something that a lot of people in this room are going to relate to, because we hear about startups that get all this funding, and that's great, but that's not so easy for everyone to do. So can you talk about how you did this without funding?
Well, we basically started, we started locally, and we really pushed our brand word of mouth. And as we began to scale, we began to think more about, okay, where do we want to go? Where are we trying to go? If we're trying to go national, we know that there's certain things that we have to do to have in place to get there. Funding was something that we did not have. So we had to literally kind of start at the back. We wrote it down. This is where we want to be. Where do we want to go? Let's start at the front. What tools do we have to get there? So we had to look at everything that we had, and what we had was, right now we have community support. We're building our brand, not just with capital, but we're building our brand on different tools like social media. So we're building our brand that way. We're building word of mouth. We're keeping traction that way. And the biggest thing, and the biggest part that we used the most was our website. So e-commerce was a huge, huge, huge part of our strategy. We started with e-commerce, as well as, you know, pushing our brand in national retail, but we knew that, okay, without the capital, without having the investors just yet, what can we do? Well, like I said before, we started from there. We used the e-commerce, we used social media, and while we were doing that, we worked on the back end. That's something you can do for free. We began to work on our foundation. That's building, I'll give it an example, the structure of our business, behind the scenes, something customers can't see. So that when we do get that investor, when we did find the proper, you know, investor that we felt could relate to our scale, we would be able to walk right into the door. So building our departments before departments came, you know, building our process. As we began to learn what we were doing, we focused on our process before we had to actually push out our process. This is things that we took necessary steps behind the scenes so that when we got the investor and the capital, which eventually we did, we were ready. So that was pretty much how we started off to get started without capital.
You had to really prove yourself first.
Yes.
Yeah. Olivia, you talked about that your designs capture the essence of the brands in a way that allows them not to put logos. I mean, I think we're calling this quiet luxury, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So to do that, though, you need to really understand the essence of their brands, and they are your customers. So this is, everyone here has customers. It doesn't matter what they sell, they have customers. And in order to serve those customers well, they have to really understand them. So you are demonstrating the deepest understanding of your customers because you have to understand them, then translate it into a design, and then that reflects back to them and their customers the essence of the brand. So how are you serving your customers? How are you getting this deep understanding of who they are and what they need? This is the longest question I've ever asked. How? But it's such a good question. When I get to the end, you're going to say, that was such a good question. How are you understanding really, really what your customers need and who they are so that you can be good at what you do?
That's a great question.
Thank you. It took me a really long time, but thank you.
To answer your question, I actually feel like I pull a strategy that I learned when I was an architect, which is when you have a client meeting with someone that you're trying to build their personal home, you are learning everything about from their height and the way that they grip the countertop, whatever that height is, to the way that their morning routine is and the way you need to put the fridge in the kitchen and the coffee maker. So whenever we would do site visits back in my corporate days, we're really digging into what is the lifestyle of this person, what means the most to them, and also what do they find beautiful. So today, when I do the equivalent of a site visit for a project, I'll use the Ritz-Carlton, for example, we go to the site. And we talked to every single person, from the client relations to the head of the pastry chef and the front desk. What means the most to the experience of every individual that comes through these doors, and how can we exemplify that through a visual narrative, through my artistic style? So there's very much an immersion of the brand book, all of that surface level stuff, but actually experiencing that for myself and being able to translate that. And one of my favorite things to do is put in these little like Easter eggs. And I was doing this compound in Lake Como, and there was this big olive tree that was on the side of the property. And when the parents were renovating the house, it was this total headache of getting around this olive tree, but it was really important to keep this olive tree. So when I finished the scarf and I gave it to the parents and I had that olive tree on there, it's like that moment, that small storytelling that's a part of this like beautiful estate that they had, that actually made this scarf sing so much more than the beautiful architecture. And so it's really experiencing and talking and learning firsthand from every customer, how can we represent their story in a beautiful and meaningful way.
I love that idea of storytelling, because no matter what business you're in, ultimately you're telling your customers a story about who you are and what you can do for them. So, I mean, this isn't really on my list of questions for you, but I think it's a good question for you. You're telling a story too, right? Your business is telling a story to your customers of what your product is and what it does for them. So how do you think about that?
Well, going back to why we started it, you know, when we started Blanket, right, like I said before, it was a necessity for my family, and we so happened to find that more people resonated with our brand because it was a need for them as well. We basically, just to go back to, you were asking about, what was it again?
About the storytelling?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, the storytelling part is really based off of, you know, the need that how our brand helped our family is helping other people as well, especially because, you know, at the time that, just to give more background, because I don't think that I did, during my second pregnancy, I had complications and I had to change my diet. My background in my family is we have chefs in our family, and cooking is just something that we do. But we never took the time to think about the ingredients, the natural ingredients, the why behind what we're eating. And so when I had to change my diet, my family, they thought, oh no, you're talking about this all you can't have good tasting, all natural pancakes and syrup. That's just, I mean, come on, it's sugar. But we used ingredients that your body can recognize. And we basically use that as a piece of storytelling, that you can have good food and you can have great tasting food with ingredients that your body can recognize. So that's pretty much our storytelling, is going back to our roots on why, the why we created our brand. And we're finding, like I said before, a lot of people understand it and they agree, and this is why.
Yeah, your brand's story is your story.
That's it.
Olivia, we are here with the Co 100, and one of the things we focused on for one of our categories is company culture. And I know you're a small company, and in fact you only recently left your job full-time, so you're still very much in the startup mode, but you are building your company culture, and you're also talking to other companies about their company culture as you do this. So I just wondered if you have thoughts about how company culture translates into people's products and services.
I think that's a really interesting question. Also because I've had the pleasure of working from companies from hospitality to tech to like cloud services and cars. So I am immersed in a lot of different cultures and in different ways that companies like to portray what they've built. But what it always comes down to is, what are they most proud of? It's the humanizing aspects of a company. This was our first building. It's some gross little shack on the side of the road, but we came from here, and that's what's really important to us. And now look where we are. So I think there's a lot of history that people are proud of in company culture, and being able to talk about that is really important. As an example of company culture, I was doing a project for Cartier, and on Fifth Ave, there's the beautiful Cartier mansion, and part of the company culture is so much education about the history. And that mansion was purchased with 2 strings of pearls. That was it. And everyone knows this when you come in the doors. And so this was a detail that we added in some of their gifting. And it speaks to this company culture of history and pride. And so every single company has their own type of pride and history and values. And it's been really amazing to witness and learn about.
Yeah, I like this. I just feel like I could envision every single business owner, no matter what business they're in, thinking about like, if we were designing a scarf, like what would be our little symbol that we would include? Because if you thought about that, it would tell you a lot about what makes your business different and why your customers love your business. Last question is for you. I kind of love this part of your story, which is that you couldn't get investors and you didn't yet have big customers. Now, neither of those things is true, and you are in the position of being picky about whose money you accept and what stores carry your products. So how does it feel to be the person in control and making those decisions, and what do you look for in a partner?
I think it is great, and we can focus more about, we can focus more on our product meeting the need of our customers. Far as with looking for investors, we started out at the beginning thinking about, okay, we need capital. But once we started to, build the blocks and begin to grow, in different areas, scaling to be one, we started realizing that it's so much more than just about finding an investor for capital. We want to find someone who understands our industry. Because knowledge, this is something that's a lot of people say, we say it growing up, knowledge is power. It is so important. Honestly, knowledge of the industry that you're investing in can be something that saves you thousands of dollars. So that's one of the things that we look for when we're looking for an investor is industry knowledge. Do you understand the industry? Do you understand, number one, our brand, what we're trying to do, with our brand? And just really, where do you see us growing? Where do you see our brand growing and things of that sort? So we asked a couple of questions to make sure that this is a good fit for us.
Yeah. So it's not just about their money, it's also about what they have to offer.
Definitely.
In terms of advice and experience.
Definitely, because it's a partnership.
Yeah, it's a partnership. Well, I thank you both. I think this was a great interview, and thank you all.
Thank you.